Hi everyone, Stepan here. Welcome to game 54. Oh, my opponent is 2097. That's pretty low. But okay, I won my last two games. And I have to accept games against lower rated people because I'm waiting for games for too long. So let's get a third win in a row. Finally start a winning streak. I had one winning streak of 5 games, and then I think at most I won 2. I have lost 6 in a row. Or was it 5? Blech. Let's forget about that. Okay. This is gonna be a wild game if my opponent plays bishop h4. The Anti Moscow Gambit is one of my favorite sharp openings. Might be the only excuse me, sharp opening I like playing against. It's a good sign that my opponent hasn't taken quickly or played bishop h4 quickly. That shows that they probably aren't too familiar with the theory. e4 is the move here, although you could play a4, which is suboptimal. e4 and then g5 followed by b5, and white loses a pawn permanently for a ton of initiative, and black tries to hold on to the pawn, develop and not lose. That's basically the Anti-Moscow Gambit in one sentence. Although if you don't play e4 here or a4, what do you do? I mean, my opponent clearly isn't too familiar with this. So let's hope it stays that way. I'm gonna try to play quickly. I mentioned 2 videos ago how I get annoyed when people play quickly, and that's just me. People should play quickly if they know the moves and they're familiar with the position, or if it's theory or whatever. It just throws me off, and that's something I have to deal with. So to remedy that, I've decided to play quickly myself if I know the moves, to not waste any time, blitz out the moves if I do know them, and then spend my time on something actually useful, which is what my opponent's doing here. I mean, and once again, it's good that they don't know e4. That means that they aren't going to be familiar with what's coming next. And I know about 7 moves here. Okay, e3 is strange because now I can go b5, and on a4 I have bishop b4. Usually after a4, bishop b4, people play e3. In this particular move order, I think b5 has to be the best move. I don't know what else I should play. Now the point is that e4, e5 doesn't work because I have time for bishop e7, and I do get to keep my pawn. a4 of course tries to undermine b5, but there's still bishop b4 pinning the knight, so white doesn't get the pawn back. b3 could be a sensible option here, but it might fail to bishop b4. And or queen a5. So if b3, queen a5, queen c2, bishop b4 followed by knight e4 seems pretty strong to me. I have over 15 minutes. Let's keep it up. 3 minutes up on the clock. And that's gonna be important in the Anti-Moscow, trust me. I've played the Anti-Moscow a bunch of times, and I know that even though black is up a pawn, this is extremely hard to play. The main move here, by the way, is knight d2, which is what Grandmaster Misho Cebalo played against me. I outplayed him, but that was a sad game. I don't want to talk about it, and withdrew the game even though I was much better, but that's a different story. So anyway, knight d2 is the move to unpin the knight, to threaten takes. And I don't have time for a6. Okay, yeah, now this isn't scary. So now I can go bishop b7, and on castles I can go a6, and everything's defended. Okay, so now white has lost their chance to cause trouble because black has won the pawn, because after castles, unpinning the knight, a6 will defend the b pawn. So my b pawn isn't hanging because the a pawn isn't pinned, because the rook isn't hanging. So yeah, a6, and now I'm a safe pawn up. Not that the game is simple to play, but I am a safe pawn up. If I'm my opponent, I'd seriously consider playing knight e5 here, followed by bishop f3, renewing the pin because the b7 bishop would be hanging. I have 16 minutes on the clock. Last game in the Benko, I had 15 minutes on move 16. Now I have more time than I had started with. Knight e5 is the only move that scares me. And I will have to consider playing g5 against it, I think. To make sure on bishop f3, I'd have knight e5 with a queen trade. I'm not worried about knight e4, because I can either play knight bd7 or g5 or bishop e7. Out of the three moves, yeah, I think bishop e7 seems to be the most prudent move, because on knight bd7 there could be knight e5. Is my bishop useful on b4? Well, there's knight c5 if I go bishop e7. So if bishop e7, then bishop f6, knight c5 is kind of annoying. So I'm gonna go knight bd7 first. And then on knight e5, I can just take and trade queens and move my knight. Because knight d6 check isn't really an option, my bishop still covers it. Also, playing bishop e7 would have been less good than playing... Also, yeah, my opponent couldn't have played knight e5 because I take and trade queens and go knight d5. Stupid. So, yeah, I'm not really worried about anything anymore. I think I'm just up a pawn. That's the problem with the anti-Moscow when they go a4 instead of e4. There's just a forced way to keep a pawn, and my opponent didn't even play knight d2, forcing me to exchange my bishop. Because on knight d2, I'd have to take on c3 to save my b-pawn. And as I said, once you get time to play a6 and bishop b7, it's all pretty safe. So now I'm expecting queen c2, maybe even b3 first. And I'm planning to play bishop e7. Why couldn't I trade queens and win the knight? Oh, because my opponent takes on f6. Knight e5, if d5, I can just trade queens and take on e4. Knight e5, if bishop f6, I can go gf6. This is losing. This is absolutely losing. Bishop f6 has to be played, or knight f6. Oh, no, sorry. My opponent can throw in knight f6 at any point because it's check. So I'm guessing I should throw in queen d1 here. Queen takes d1, knight f6 check, gf6, rook takes d1, fe5, winning another pawn? Probably. I mean, I have to trade queens. And I have to take back on f6. Yeah, I didn't realize that knight f6 is still check. But okay, even so, I'll be up 2 pawns. Yeah, knight f6 is the only move. Otherwise, I just save my queen. There's no alternative to knight takes f6. Wow. Giving up a full knight, that's crazy. No takebacks for you. Wow. It's not mate, my rook's covering mate. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm not allowing a takeback. I'd allow a takeback if it was a misclick, but this was not a misclick. My opponent just didn't understand the tactics. Come on, 3 in a row. Let's go. Yes. I only won 3 points. That's kind of sad, but okay. Well, I don't think there's much to analyze. I can show you the correct line. So instead of e3, white plays e4, and after g5, bishop g3, b5, there are a couple of moves. There's bishop e2, that's the main move. There's e5, knight e5, and h4. I find h4 to be the most annoying move, although some people dislike playing against e5. The point being, if e5, knight d5, then knight e4, and white is on the d6 square. So that's one line. The other line starts with a4, and this is what we have transposed into, where on e3 I go b5, and now, as you can see here, knight d2 is, well, knight d2 is the best move, I know that. Some people play bishop e2, and I'm actually confused if that's a good move. But knight d2 forces issues, and I have to do something. So bishop b7, and then on ab I take on c3. And yeah, but I don't know bishop e2. Okay, bishop b7, castles, a6. Okay, we're apparently following theory. I was kind of afraid of knight e5. And yes, that was possible because my knight wasn't on d7 yet. Yeah. Okay, knight e4, knight bd7, and now I'm guessing I have a good position. Let's turn on the engine. Black is just slightly better. Okay, knight e5 takes, queen takes. My opponent had to play knight f6 to make sure they don't lose the knight. And let's see this. So takes, some rook takes the queen. Now I can take another pawn because d8 is covered. And can I castle here? Probably. Oh no, there's rook d7. I don't want to castle. Okay, so I'm only slightly better. Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm not gonna complain. Third win in a row. Let's hope the streak continues. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye-bye.